For today, we're going to be looking at how to add and subtract radicals. Okay, so let me submit. So something like this. So question number 7. See, there's radicals, and I'm going to add or subtract them. Now, I remember back in Algebra 1, we learned what we called like terms. Right, let me review a little like terms. So let's say I had a 7x plus a 2y plus a 3x. We say we can only combine those that have the same letter, right? In this case, 7x and 3x. We couldn't combine it with the 2y because it was a different letter. So only those that have the same letter. Well, it's same idea with radicals. I can combine those that have the same radical. So let me do first, what I'm gonna do first, let me simplify my radicals. All right, so let's take a look. My first radical, radical 2. Remember here the root is 2. So I'm thinking 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, right? I'm thinking of the list of the squares. I know 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, right? Yesterday we learned how to simplify radicals. Now my question here is, can we simplify that? No, we cannot. But let me just copy it as it is. Negative radical 2. Then the next one, my next term, negative 2 radical 2. Can we simplify that? No, we cannot. So let me write this as negative 2 radical 2. My next one, radical 27. Now that one we can simplify. Let me break my radical as 9 times 3. Right? The square root of 9 is 2. Now this 2 with this 3 that was outside to begin with, multiply those. So it's going to give me plus 6 radical 3. And radical 3 we cannot simplify. The last one, 2 radical 27. Radical 27, let me break that as 9 times 3. The square root of 9 is 3. This 3 multiplied with this 2, I know that's 6. So this is going to give me plus 6 radical 3. So I simplify my radicals. Then I'm going to combine like terms. These two terms have the same radical. This basically, it's a -1 and a -2. I'm looking at the numbers on the outside. Remember when you had letters, coming back to my example here on top, 7x, when I combine 7x with 3x, remember we just added the numbers, we call those coefficients. Same thing with radicals, just combined the coefficients. So I have a -1 and a -2. So that gives me -3 radical 2. Notice I'm not going to change my radical. Remember back in Algebra 1, you didn't change the letter. 7x plus 3x, it was just 10x. You left the letter alone. Same thing with the radical. Do not change the radical, just add the coefficients. And then here at the end, 6 radical 3 plus 6 radical 3, that's going to give me 12 radical 3. I just added the coefficients, left the radical alone. Now these two terms, one of them has a radical 2, the other one has a radical 3. I cannot combine them. So that's it. That's my answer. How am I going to type this? -3 rad 2, right? -3 radical 2 plus 12 rad 3. 12 radical 3. All right, let's take a look at question number 8. My first one, radical 2, the square root of 2. Nothing I can do. So let me just copy it. 3 radical 2. Then I see radical 27. I can break that. I can break that as 9 times 3. The square root of 9 is 3. Now this 3 with this negative sign is going to become -3 radical 3. My next term, radical 5, nothing I can do. So let me just write that as plus 3 radical 5. Now radical 12, right? The square root of 12, I can break that. Let me think of that as 4 times 3, because the square root of 4 is 2. So that's going to give me negative 2 radical 3. All right, simplify your radicals first. Then combine like terms. Let's see. Radical 2, that's the only term that I see with radical 2. So I'm going to write this as 3 radical 2. As a matter of fact, let me cross it out because I already used it. Now with radical 3's, I see negative 3 radical 3 and negative 2 radical 3. I'm going to combine my like terms. So that I'm going to call this negative 5 radical 3. Just combine my coefficients. Leave the radical alone. And then lastly, plus 3 radical 5. Now I cannot combine it anymore because all the radicals are different. So they're not like terms. The way I'm going to write this will be 3 rad 2 minus 5 radical 3 plus 3 radical 5. Now, to be honest, the order you write these terms, right? There's 3 terms that I wrote at the end. The order, mathematically speaking, it doesn't matter, right? There's 3 terms. Write them in any order you want. 3 radical 2 minus 5 radical 3 plus 3 radical 5. The order you write those terms does not make a difference. Okay, question number 9. Let me simplify my radicals. Radical 20, I can think of that as 4 times 5 because the square root of 4 is 2. So I'm thinking of a multiplication, right? 2 numbers that multiplied equals 20. One of them has to be a perfect square. Now this 2 with the negative 3 in the front, this is going to simplify to negative 6 radical 5, right? The 2 with the negative 3 I multiplied. All right, let's think of 54. I'm going to break that as 9 times 6. I'm thinking of 2 numbers that multiplied equals 54. One of them has to be a perfect square. I know the square root of 9 is 3. With the 3 that was on the front to begin with, that's going to give me plus 9 radical 6. Now, square root of 6, nothing we can do. I can break 6 as 2 times 3, but neither the 2 nor the 3 are perfect squares, so nothing I can do. Now here I have radical 20. Yeah, I can break that as 4 times 5 because the square root of 4 is 2. Multiply with a negative 2 in the front, that gives me negative 4 radical 5. And on my last one, radical 20, I can break that as 4 times 5. The square root of 4 is 2. Multiply with the negative 2 in the front, gives me negative 4 radical 5. Okay, so I see 3 terms that have the same radical. I'm just going to add the coefficients, the numbers on the front. Negative 6 with a negative 4 and a negative 4. That's going to give me negative 14 radical 5. Notice I just look at the coefficients, the numbered outside. And then plus 9 radical 6. Cannot combine it with that one because they're not like terms. The way I will type this, negative 14 rad 5 plus 9 radical 6. Or if it's given as a multiple choice, it's even better. All right, let's take a look at question number 10. Let me simplify each of these radicals first. Radical 27, the square root of 27. I'm going to simplify that as 9 times 3. Again, thinking 2 numbers that multiplied equals 27. One of them must be a perfect square. Square root of 9 is 3. That's right, that's a perfect square. This 3 multiplied with the number in the front, that gives me 9 radical 3. Square root of 8, break that as 4 times 2. All right, 4 times 2 is 8, but the square root of 4 is 2. This 2 multiplied with this other 2 will give me plus 4 radical 2. Radical 18, I'm going to break that as 9 times 2. Right? The square root of 9 is 3. This 3 multiplied with this negative 2 will give me negative 6 radical 2. The last one, negative 3 radical 3, nothing I can do. Simplify your radicals first. Now let me combine like terms. These two have the same radical. I'm just going to combine the coefficients. 4 minus 6, or 4 and a negative 6. It's going to give me negative 2 radical 2. And then I also see this other 2. They have the same radical. I'm just going to combine that coefficients. 9 minus 3. So that's going to give me positive 6 radical 3. Right. Those two terms, again, the order you write them doesn't matter. Right. Some of you might be like, can I write this as 6 radical 3 minus 2 radical 2? Yeah, why not? Those two terms, the order you write them doesn't matter. All right, let's take a look at two more examples. Question number 11. Let me simplify my radicals first. 2 radical 2, right? Radical 2, nothing I can do. So let me just copy that. I'm just going to write 2 radical 2. Now, radical 20, right? Now that one I can simplify. I'm going to think of two numbers multiplied equals 20. One of them has to be a perfect square. So let me think 4 times 5. Because the square root of 4 is 2. Now this 2 multiplied with this 2 will give me 4 radical 5. Okay, the next term, radical 2, nothing I can do. So minus 3 radical 2. And then the last one, minus 2 radical 3. Nothing I can do. So I simplify all my radicals, then combine like terms. I see these two can be combined. They have the same radical. Just going to combine the coefficients, right? The number outside. 2 minus 3, I know is negative 1. So I can call this negative 1 radical 2 plus 4 radical 5 minus 2 radical 3. Right. Nothing else can be combined because they all have different radicals. Now, negative 1 radical 2. When the coefficient is 1, right? That mathematically speaking, that's correct. But sometimes we might even write this as a negative radical 2 plus 4 radical 5 minus 2 radical 3. When the coefficient is 1, right, in this case a negative 1, it is okay to not write the 1. The negative sign has to be there, but it's okay not to write the 1 when the coefficient is 1. So either of those two they're correct. Now, question number 12. 3 radical 3, nothing I can do. I cannot simplify the radicals. I'm just going to copy it down. Radical 20, I can break that, right? I'm thinking of two numbers multiplied equals 20. One of them has to be a perfect square. So let me think of this as 4 times 5 because the square root of 4 is 2. Now this 2 multiplied with this 3 will give me 6 radical 5. Nothing else I can do with radical 5. Now the next one, radical 6. I cannot do anything. So let me write this as minus radical 6. We can think of that as 2 times 3. I can think of a multiplication equals 6, but neither of those are perfect squares. In order for me to simplify this, I have to think of a multiplication, but one of my numbers has to be a perfect square. So I can't. And my last term, 2 radical 5, nothing I can do. Cannot simplify this. So I simplify all my radicals. Now let me combine like terms. 3 radical 3, my first term, nothing else has a radical 3. So that's it. Cannot combine it with anything. Radical 5, I see 2 of them. Just going to combine my coefficients, 6 and 2, right? 6 plus 2. So let me call this 8 radical 5. And then minus radical 6. That's it. Simplify your radicals and then combine your like terms.